Hey functions, this is what we did today. So this question is saying, state whether or not the ratio is positive or negative given the quadrant. So we're in quadrant 3. So if I draw the XY cam, we have all of them are going to be positive here. Students take calculus, so we're in quadrant 3, so we are looking for tangent to be positive. Tangent needs to be positive, and then we have y over r. And remember, when we have a triangle, what we're looking at here in the quadrant plane is this is my y, this is my x, and this is my r. So y over r, we're looking at the inside angle, would be opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse is sine. So this would be sine would be negative. Okay, so now this one is asking, identify what quadrant it satisfies that cosine. Cosine is less than 0, so negative cosine. But cosecant is positive, so positive. So cosecant is the reciprocal to sine. So where is sine positive but cosine is negative? Well, that is going to be quadrant 2. Okay, so make sure you can do that. Make sure those are things that you know how to do, because we're going to be going backwards. All right, so we want to find the exact value for the tangent of 675 degrees. The first thing that we need to do is we need to find that coterminal angle between 0 and 360. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 360 until we get to right below 360. So that is 1 time, and we get 315, and then our coterminal angle from the terminal edge to the x-axis would be 45 degrees. Now, we can use that 45 degrees. So we're looking at this triangle, we're looking at, oops. So there's that triangle, and this is the terminal side, which is going to be the square root of 2, and this is going to be 1, and this is going to be 1. So we're looking for the tangent of 1. So tangent of 45 degrees is going to be equal to 1 over 1. Okay, so we're in the 4th quadrant. Oops, sorry. Since we're in the 4th quadrant, the only thing that I'm expecting to be positive is cosine is supposed to be positive in the 4th quadrant. So then if that's supposed to be positive, I'm going to get that the tangent of 675 degrees is going to be negative 1. So that is how you would write that answer. Another way to do this is, let's erase all this ink, is we know that the tangent of 675 degrees is going to be the same as the tangent of 315 degrees. And we know that our tangent is going to be negative, so we're going to get the negative tangent of 45 degrees, which gets us to negative 1. Either way, it doesn't really matter. You could draw the triangle here is another way that you could do it. So if we just pick an arbitrary point, just pick this point right there, and we'll draw it right there. And so then we know that this is the square root of 2. This is going to be negative 1, and this is going to be 1. So the tangent of this angle right here is going to be negative 1 over 1, which is still negative 1. So there are a couple different ways to do this, about a couple of different ways to check your work. There's different ways to do it. All right, let's do another one. Let's do negative 240. So again, the first step that we want to do is we want to find that coterminal angle that's going to be between 0 and 360 that's coterminal to negative 240. So we end up with 120. Then we find our reference angle. Our reference angle is going to be that 60 degrees. And so we're going to use that reference angle. So if I drew some arbitrary point, and then I know that this is going to be 2, this is going to be the square root of 3, and this is going to be negative 1. And I know that because this is 60, this is 30, and the square root of 3 is always adjacent to the 30 degrees, and the 2 is always the hypotenuse. And since it's on the negative side of the x-axis, then it's negative 1. Another way that we could do it is we could draw, and we've got, we could have, whoops, not negative 1, just our regular 2, 1, square root of 3, and we'll have our 60 degrees right here. So we could still have our triangle that we know how to do. And then we are going to find the cosine of 60 degrees, which is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 1 over 2. And then we are in the second quadrant, and the only thing that is positive in the second quadrant is sine and cosecant are positive because those are the reciprocals of each other. So then this must be the negative square root, or negative cosine. So then we're going to end up with that the cosine of negative 240 degrees is equal to negative 1 over 2. So that's one way to do it. We can use the triangle, we can create the triangle, we can use it here. If we use the triangle that's on the coordinate plane, we would have gotten that the cosine of this, so the cosine of, and we could still say negative 240 since we're using the terminal, would be equal to negative 1 over 2, which is right here. So either way, that works. And then I have some stuff typed out, so let's erase that, and let's see. We end up with that. We know that the cosine of negative 40 degrees is going to be equal to the cosine of 120 degrees, which is going to be equal to the negative cosine of 60 degrees, which is equal to negative 1/2. So we can do it that way as well. All right, so this is the last one that we're going to do. So we're going to evaluate the cosine of 780 degrees by first expressing it as a function in terms of an angle between 0 and 360. Meaning, we got to find that smaller coterminal between 0 and 360. So we can subtract 362 times, and we end up with that the cosine is 60 degrees. Because if we draw this, oops, so we have a graph of this. If we draw this, we get, it's positive, so positive 700, okay, so this is 360. Then we get to 720, and we got to go up 60 more degrees. Okay, there's my arrow. And so from here, my reference angle from here to here, my reference angle is 60 degrees. So that's how we got to the cosine of 60. So remember, when we're in that first terminal, first quadrant, not terminal, first quadrant, then everything is positive, and whatever the angle is from here to here is its reference angle. We don't have to do anything extra. Okay, so that's 60 degrees, and the cosine of 60 degrees is what we just found on the last slide, which was negative 1/2 for the negative cosine, but we're looking for regular cosine, so we just end up with 1/2. All right, let's try this one. So we end up, let's evaluate the tangent of negative 405 degrees. Again, we want to add 360 until we get to a positive number. So we end up with the tangent of 315. The tangent of 315 lies in the quadrant 4. Its reference angle is 45 degrees. And because it's in the fourth quadrant, we know that it's going to be a negative because it's tangent, not cosine. So we end up with negative 1. All right, that is where we're ending. If you have any questions, of course, please come to class with those questions. Otherwise, I will see you when you come back. Have a great day.